So good to have you, my friend, Mr. David Gillapie, AKA Hollywood. How are you?
Yep, that's what they say. I'm actually surprisingly doing pretty good.
Good.
Pretty good phase of my quarantine at this point. I've gone through multiple shapes and forms and thoughts throughout this time, but I've leveled out. Pretty good spot. How about yourself?
Good, good. I actually just got a job, so I'm going to be going back to work tomorrow, building teardrop trailers in Boulder there. So
Building what kind of trailers?
like teardrop trailers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is that a skill set you already had or something you learned on YouTube during quarantine?
Apparently a little bit of both. Yeah, but what I saw you were talking about, you've been working on bases. Maybe you can share your different projects that you've been doing lately.
Well, I am kind of at that fun part now, and I'm at a funny part where I wish I was as into bases and kind of like the luthier stuff when I was in like Badman back in St. Thomas, and just I bought this really nice bass in the beginning because I knew it would have great tone, and what I lacked in skill I would have in tone, you know. And but I just kind of never touched it ever since then. I'm like, oh, this is a $2,000 bass, and it's gonna be good forever. And so I never touched it. And now getting back in the States and kind of coming out of the fog of living in St. Thomas, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, it's kind of corroded, and I'm just like, I should fix this up. And I just started YouTubing all like luthier videos, and before you know it, I've got all the tools in the mail, and I'm sitting here at the house like doing stuff and calling friends, calling my brother, say, hey, do you have any instruments you want me to work on? And just yeah, just kind of found a little passion for it.
Cool, man. That's the nice thing about these times. So you could do, I got into this stuff now, which is kind of the same thing. Like I wish I would have paid attention in school more, or like knuckled down with learning computer skills much earlier on, but I'm catching up.
You know, some of this stuff, I'll be like watching YouTube videos on learning stuff, and I'll be like, why did I wait so long to get into this? And the reality is, it's because those YouTube videos I don't think were there.
No.
Back when I was younger, like 20 years old, I'm like, I didn't have access. I would have had to go to like luthier school, and I just didn't have. But if I had, now it's like any thought that comes to my mind, I research it, figure it out, go down as far as as far as I want to down that hole.
Yeah.
And that's the only problem with this too much time on my hands. Is anything that comes to my mind, I'm like, oh, let me figure that out, and I get to it, and then before you know it, it's like your screen time is averaging 8.5 hours a day.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. Speaking of screen time, I don't know why it happened like this, but I realized recently, after speaking of coming out of a fog, that our record label didn't properly credit you for the, and maybe we didn't either, for the video that you did with us in LA. And
I appreciate you I actually didn't even know that.
Well, I just saw the YouTube video again because I was watching it, and I'm like, we're going to remedy that. I'm going to make sure that I, really promote your work and get that out there. And it's a shame. So I want everybody to know that you did that one at Viper Room. Where?
I was like whiskey. Yeah, Viper Room.
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet. That was a fun time.
Yeah,
you guys are such a lively band. It's like such an easy. I was just excited we had all worked out, because when you have, as someone that's shooting video, to have people that are so easy to shoot makes it so much fun. When you have to like pull teeth to get, you have so much footage, you're looking for that one gem from some people in some bands. It's difficult. You guys are definitely an easy shoot. Easy to make look good.
Yeah, that's something that I thought about before. Ian and I, the lead singer, and I discussed that thing where like we're kind of crazy. So we, instead of, a lot of bands have that shot from many years ago where the lead singer or guitarist jumped off of something and they're flying through the air, right?
Right.
We just decided we were going to do that every night, which is not a sustainable, especially in your 30s. You're like, the other guys that did that didn't do it 1,000 times. They just did it like twice, maybe.
You hear guys talking about now, just that have that stage presence and stuff, that are just like, oh, I got bad back and I got bad knees. And the 90s were all about jumping, like punk rock. It's like, I think I see people jump a little less now. unless they're famous for it in the 90s, they're still doing it, you know, but
Yeah.
I always liked the jump.
Yeah.
My favorite was like bands like Goldfinger that would did it and then toss it. Everyone in the band swings it around their shoulder and then they catch it right on the chorus.
Yeah. That's
That kind of stuff.
I saw an epic fail video of like a metal band trying to do that, and it got caught in the other dude's hair.
Oh, really?
Like long hair.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for shenanigans like that on stage, anything like that. Yeah, like
I tried it in my backyard. Apparently, the key is using wood glue and whatnot, and I put in the locks, but I swung it and it just and then straight into the ground. It didn't stick, but it's the way we'll tell the story moving forward.
Yeah, dangerous things can happen if you choose to do that. But the locks and the glue and the
I know it's and I actually ran into this bass player for that band, Goldfinger, Kelly. Across the street, there's a music store here in Portland called Trade Up Music. Walked in there and he was in there, and we started chatting and asked him about that, how they used to pull that off. And he actually said he would do wood glue, but he'd also break up toothpicks and like shove it in there to make it extra tight.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a thought out process.
There's another good luthier tip for you.
Right? Exactly.
That comes in handy. Yeah, I think there was a period of time there where my band kept the wood glue companies in business because Jesse would break his bass every day.
And those basses aren't cheap.
No, they're not cheap.
Stand up.
And if you get the cheap ones, you're going to be fixing it more. And yeah, he kicked a hole in the bottom of his stand-up bass so many times that my dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he took sheet metal and built like a metal diaper on the bottom of it.
Plate, or so you kick against it.
Yeah.
Was it like the same spot? It was like a certain move that was just breaking it.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing.
I do. It's a lot of craziness, and it's awesome. Yeah. Do you miss playing? You stopped playing music since I've seen you in person.
Yeah. I stopped playing over a year ago. But yeah, I missed certain things about it for sure. The problem was that with Larry and his Flask, it's not just playing music, it's touring constantly. So,
right.
You know, that trade-off is there. Like I don't play right now, but I feel like I really want to again, just not be on the road.
Yeah, that is hard. I think as you get older, you want to have some sort of normalcy in your life. It's not that you don't want to play music and not that you don't appreciate that you got to the level where you can tour and stuff. It's just, yeah. I mean, a lot of bands, it seems like they go to just like doing shorter stints and everyone lives where they live. They fly and meet up for a couple weeks, and then that seems to work if you can do that kind of level.
Yeah.
Like having your cake and eating it too, right?
Yeah. And I did that when I was living in St. Thomas. I flew out, and that was just such a daunting travel, you know, to get all the way to the West Coast and then start a tour.
Speaking of St. Thomas.
Yes.
Oh, you go.
No, you.
I was just thinking about how interesting it's been the last few years going from living in St. Thomas. A lot of people don't know me. Like 14 years I lived in St. Thomas, couple Cat 5 hurricanes within a week of each other. Long story there, but ended up back in the States and then I did a lot of this video touring, went on tour with the Mad Caddies and played bass with John Gosney, did all this stuff. And I had a really crazy, cool experiences. Like this hurricane spit me out of my life, go on all these crazy things and live in my favorite version of life. And then kind of finally starting to settle down, even though it's been a few years now. It's like I feel like I'm still kind of like figuring out the aftermath. And then this COVID thing comes in, and it's just like it's an interesting. Oh, how familiar it felt to just be like, you know, just like life is just a very and has been a very interesting thing. It's like, I don't know, the only constant in life is change is that statement you've always heard that's just been like whatever. It's like, I get it. That's the truth right there, you know.
Yeah,
luckily I do a variety of things.
Yeah. Are you able to like make ends meet right now? Like how are you getting by?
Well, I did just edit a quarantine video for the Mad Caddies. It's coming out, I think, June 5th for a brand new song of theirs. So that was cool. So like little things are kind of trickling in, but having everything like right. I was going to be going to LA for Flogging Molly and Mad Caddies. We're doing the St. Patrick's Day show, and then we were going to film this music video for this song down in LA area.
Okay.
And then there's just all this tour stuff going on after that, and it was just starting with that. Tickets, everyone in that band, they all flew there, and then it all got canceled. And it was like, and then I was going to fly out the next day. It was just, we're starting with that, was just a trickle effect of random things that put everything on pause. But like I said, I'm no stranger to like everything changing. So I think it doesn't really stress me out as much as like, all right. So, okay, I guess I'll.
Yeah. I mean, when you travel a lot and do a lot of different things for work, or, you know, you get used to that change.
Just rolling with the punches, I guess, and just things not happening that you thought were going to happen. So you, not that you plan for that, but I think you just accept it a lot easier than some people, you know. But I luckily, financially, it was my brother and I have an Airbnb in St. Thomas that we rent out. Obviously, that's stopped. I'm right. And so, yeah, I mean, besides that, everything's on a lot of pause. Besides that drainage point in life, I'm fairly randomly okay. Not that everyone is, but I feel lucky that I'm just kind of like, all right, what to do today? Just so that's why I started following my passions and learned my dream. I learned how to play the Seinfeld bass line. Little slap pop. I never really done it. I was like a rock bass player, reggae rock kind of thing. And then I'm like, I'm going to learn slap pop and funk. And so along with the guitar stuff, just making use of the time.
That's good.
Like
that's good to hear. Yeah.
As you are, my friend.
Yeah. Reconnecting with all my buddies, you know, that's, it's, you know, it's like an interview, but it's more like a conversation. Like I was saying in the text, it's, it just feels good to, you know, after that time off. So when I stepped out of the Flask, I started immediately working at a tire shop in Lafayette, which is near Boulder. Mm-hmm. And then they laid me off. So then I decided I sat there for a few days. Like,
laid you off randomly or just right now because of COVID?
For the COVID thing, yeah.
Okay.
So I started, I put together a couple of Star Wars puzzles, and then I watched some TV, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I got to do something more constructive than that, which they're awesome puzzles, but, you know, you can only go so far.
It was funny, yeah, the first, like, my birthday is March 14th, so it was like right around my birthday that we were like, I guess probably shouldn't go out to dinner tonight. My family came in from Hood River and we're hanging out, and so we got to go food that night, but pretty much since then I've been quarantined. But it's funny how you go through those different phases. Like the first time you're like, all right, staycation, and you're just like eating ice cream and watching movies the whole time. Then I'm like, all right, quarantine 15, I'm feeling it. Yeah. I don't know if you notice, I got a little angle on this camera trying to make me look a little better. But you start to feel like a slob. And then I unfortunately still not made it to the working out phase where I'm like, I'm just going to get in the best shape of my life. I got all the time, which scares me because without doing it with all the time in the world, that means I probably never will do it, right? That's my fear, at least.
Well, that's the next project. You can get there. There's a lot of online classes yet, so.
Yeah, right.
I wanted to bring up On the Road, which you did the video for, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That is really cool. And it seemed like some of it was filmed with On the Road with Mad Caddies and in St. Thomas and maybe Carnival and stuff too.
Yep. I don't know if you noticed me selflessly promoting myself in that video, but
that was great.
It was hard not to with the footage we got on that tour. We had done a Europe tour. It's actually pretty interesting with the Mad Caddies because I was playing in the opening band with John Ghazi. He would start out the set doing 2 songs that were just him, or 2 or 3 songs that were just him with his loop pedal station, which is his style. And then he would invite out Todd, the drummer for the Mad Caddies, and myself on bass, and we'd come in and we'd do 4 songs together, and that would close out his opening set. So we were doing that every night. But then when the Caddies would come on, I would pop on the hat of videographer. So then I'm running around videotaping and stuff. And then Ghazi was doing stage managing for them. So then I'd help him like load gear and stuff. So it's pretty like full tour, but pretty fun, awesome experience. And so we got a lot of the footage on that tour. And one of the bands we were touring with had a videographer. So I had him shoot a few things while I was playing or whatever as well. So cool. But we did some stuff in St. Thomas. That video, working with Ghazi is fun. It's like we'll get an idea, but a long time before we actually just like release it. So we had footage from, Carnival like years ago, mixed in with some stuff we did on a boat, mixed in with our tour footage. So And that's just such a great upbeat song. So I think that's his first like official music video that he's actually put out. So
Yeah, it looks great.
To be part of that.
You guys did a great job. It made me really miss being out on the water.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that was one of those songs we closed with it every night, and it was just one of those you can't help but dance and feel good to that song.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to going out and touring with him again. That's part of like, so he's like sent me some new tracks, and I'm sitting here just working out parts and stuff. So when the world comes back together, you know, you'd hope that I'll just be, you'll be like, where do you make up all those bass lines? I had way too much time. I rewrote everything. God, hopefully I'm not too nutty.
Yeah, man, that's the thing about this time. You're like, so many people are gonna be putting out new albums and just writing like crazy. I know that a lot of the people that I talk to on here are, writing like just like nuts, you know.
I'm doing a lot of recording. My problem, I end up like recording awesome sections, and then I'll get kind of like, all right, and then I'll just kind of like start another song. So I have all these like sections of songs that I love, and maybe if I put them all in the same key, I'll just make some like concept album with all my unfinished songs. My life's work.
Super song.
Right? But the cool thing about this time, and I don't know if you've done this, but I have ideas I've talked with friends, and we're like sending files back and forth. So I'll record some stuff, and I'll be like, hey, I recorded acoustic guitar on that to have a back, but just delete that and record a guitar part, you know. So it's kind of fun because everyone has the downtime. So they're like, all right, I'll take the time to, you know, put a little effort into your project.
Yeah, I have not done that yet, but my brother and I are talking about doing that, starting another like little just punk rock band and sending the files back and forth. He's recording right now as we speak with Todd in Bend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, so he has the studio back sort of open, at least to Jesse and a couple of dudes. So they've been doing like one song at a time, and Todd's doing like the producing and the, you know, everything.
He built a whole studio in his backyard since I think you guys recorded Dinghy on the Dock with Ghazi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did like the walkthrough cell phone, but it looks pretty awesome. So
yeah,
and that's a fun thing too, to have guys like that, like talk to Todd, have an idea, record something, then send it down to him as like a bass player, to have him lay it down, have a studio just ready to go. It's a fun time. And, you know, in life, everyone's so busy. I just think it's great that this time the silver lining, I think, of this time is doing things like that. And I don't know, you can't stress out about all this stuff so much that it takes over your day to day. You just got to like figure out, okay, what would I do if this was, you know, what do I do if I was retired or I had mailbox money coming in, and then you start doing it. Figure out what your hobbies are.
Precisely. Yeah. And it's just so cool to like, there's the obvious ones, the connections, like, you know, Ghazi and you and Todd, but then there's ones that like I wind up talking about similar times and like things that it's just a small world, you know, and it's so apparent when you're talking to musicians, especially in the punk rock realm. And then, you know, pretty soon you're like, oh yeah, I know this guy knows this guy. It's like being on the road, same sort of thing, except I'm just sitting in my basement talking to my friends. And
yeah, it is such a small community. I realize,
and everything, you know.
Yeah, it's a cool community. Everyone it's some of the stuff I did, it just seemed like everyone just, you know, backyard barbecue style. Everyone's getting back together, and I haven't been in that part of the music scene. I mean, I've been playing music my whole life, but I lived in the Virgin Islands for 14 years, so I've done bands and stuff down there, but I haven't actually been going out on tour and living this version of it since, I guess, it was before the hurricanes, but just within a couple years before the hurricanes, started doing some of this stuff and just quick trick right in. Being a musician, but then also shooting video, I run that like nice, you know, I'm not actually like looking for you to check out my song. I'm like, oh, let's shoot some video together. So it's just a very approachable way, I think, to meet people, and you're kind of working together.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. I wanted to talk about the hurricanes too. I couldn't remember if were you there on island when it happened, or were you trapped?
I left a few days before. Our drummer, I play in a band called Third String All Stars with my buddy Doyle Van Horn and Ryan Deal, and he, the drummer, he runs a sailboat excursion company, charter company, and has a wife and 2 kids, but he was going to take his boat down to Trinidad, and he was just looking for a nice weather window to take it down there. And he's like, "Oh, it looks like there's some weather out there. Maybe we should just, you know." I was going to be his mate. I was going to basically, he was paying for my flight back. I was just going to sail with him down there. I thought it'd be a cool adventure. So yeah, long story short, we left right before. It's like, "Oh, it looks like some weather. Maybe we should just go now." Obviously, if we knew, he would have brought his wife and 2 daughters and stuff, you know. So yeah, it was crazy. On that week of that trip, it was like a week-long trip, and on that middle of the week, hearing through our satellite radio everything that had gone down back home, it was such a weird thing because it was so calm at the sea, on the seas. We were going down from St. Thomas to Trinidad, and the storm was moving across and actually was supposed to go up to St. Thomas, and for a little bit actually didn't change course. So we were out there, couldn't turn around, couldn't get there any faster because it just sucked all the wind, so we were going so slow, and the storm was coming at us. So there was literally a whole day where we were like, did we just make the worst decision of our lives? Like,
whoa.
And then it did the turn that they thought it was going to do and didn't do anything. But so I wasn't there to go through the hurricane. I got stuck in Trinidad for a little bit. Ended up flying back, and then basically just got stuck in the States. And, you know, with my flexibility to start calling and doing stuff, and that's kind of how all this touring and stuff kind of came into place. So that was all, most of that was all post hurricane. Because in St. Thomas, you kind of just have your blinders on to everything. You're just living your life, doing your thing, and very content, you know, driving boats, playing gigs, and shooting video is a nice lifestyle. Kind of feel like I did it right through that whole, you know, I have no regrets as far as like looking back on my youth. I just hope I can keep that momentum going, and I don't just kind of like, all right. Because it's weird to go from living the islands to then stateside, you know?
Yeah.
That community to, where are my friends?
Yeah. It's strange. Yeah. I mean, I was only there 3 years, but I still have that feeling of like, you know, it was weird too, because we weren't there either when it hit. And I was in Colorado.
You guys had just moved off right before the hurricanes, right?
We were technically still living there. It was the first year where we decided to go somewhere else for the hurricane season. So we went to Canada, took the dogs, and I was going to try to find a job there, and we were going to eventually try to move to Canada.
Okay, cool.
But it was just like a trial run. And then I was also doing a tour, and I was on the tour when it hit, and Victoria called me and she's like, "Have you seen the news? Like, the storm's looking like it's going to be quite bad." And she got offered a job in Colorado. So, you know, I was like, well, take it, you know?
Yeah.
So she did. And then we found out very quickly thereafter how bad, you know, to some extent. I mean, it was really hard to get information at first.
Yeah. And that was the weird thing for me too, is I had left on a week-long trip. So I had 2 pairs of board shorts, 7 shirts, an acoustic guitar, and a camera. And I didn't plan. My whole life was back there. And luckily, as it was leading up to it, because we knew it was a hurricane, obviously, right before it, I had called my roommates and had them like secure all my expensive gear and do things like that to the best they could. And it was secured. I had a car there. And it was just so weird because I'm in the States now after the boat delivery. I can't go home, can't really figure anything out, but it's all my life is there. I didn't move to the States. So I'm not like looking for a job. Like, all right, next thing. It was such a weird time period, not knowing what to do. And I was just trying to line people up to get off island. They'd get cell phone reception. They'd be like, "Hey, there's this pregnant employee here that would really, you know, close to labor, needs to get off island." And I was a boat captain. So then I'd talk to guys that were in Puerto Rico. They'd be running boats in, the supplies, getting people. So I'd be telling them on the docks at this time. And then I'd be calling the boat captain and be like, "All right, you have this many people. Here's their names." And so I was doing everything I could. Then I was actually going to fly down and drive boats myself. And then the second hurricane hit.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I guess I'm just going to sit here at my mom's house and wonder, you know.
So you were in Oregon at that point?
Yeah, I was. My family had moved out to Hood River from Portland, and so I was out in Hood River. Silver lining on that one, got to see the birth of my nephew, who was born like right in November, you know, right after that. And so, yeah, I always tend to try to look at things as the glass is half full. It's kind of like life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of try to live by that motto. Have to remind myself, but that's like the...
Yeah, for sure. You can't, I mean, there are those moments where you're like, what the fuck have I done? You just have to remember. Or, you know, like, what the fuck am I going to do? You know, when we saw the video of our house there, we were just like, we can't go back. You know, that's just like, what can we do? We have the getting the dogs here was crazy enough that
Right.
yeah, they're not small animals.
Did you have anything on island when it hit?
Yeah, we still had some bits and bobs. We took the things that were most important, like paperwork, important documents, the dogs, our lives. But
Yeah.
I lost a lot of board shorts and flip flops in the disaster, and my brother's bass guitar was underneath my bed. There.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Ghazi brought it back. It was a pretty cool.
Not a stand-up, just like an electric bass.
Yeah, it was. It was one that my dad had worked on, and he passed away a few years ago. So it was very sentimental to my brother. But at the time when the hurricanes were happening, he was asking me about it, and I was like, I didn't realize that Dad worked on it. First of all, and second of all, it was a fucking like a disaster. And I was like, right. I'm not going to risk somebody's life to go tell him to go try to save the bass underneath the bed.
Guitar,
like, yeah. I mean, and he realized after a minute, like, okay, that's a little bit out of line. I was like, people don't have food. They don't have water. They don't have cell phone reception. We can't worry about that right now.
Use their little bit of battery power to be like, can you get this bass guitar from the bed?
Yeah. In between the two hurricanes. And I was like, after our landlords went back in there and looked through the stuff, they were like, what do you want to do with this bass? And I was like, well, maybe you can give it to Jamie because, they both work right there in Red Hook. And so she gave it to Jamie, and Jamie put it in the closet and cleaned it first, put it in the closet, and then it sat there for a long time. And then I heard that John was coming out to Colorado. So he actually brought the bass back, and then I waited even a couple more months, and we went on tour, and then we ended the tour at our house in Denver. And so I tucked it in the bed where my brother was going to sleep, and I was like, go check out your room, man. I got it ready for you. And he, even though it's warped and all, corroded and messed up, he was really happy to get it back. So now it hangs on the wall. Nice.
Well, yeah, especially if your dad worked on it, to just even hang it on the wall is just like to have it in your possession.
Yeah. But other than that, we had like Apple TV, and that we lost that. But really, the way that we had lived leading up to that was pretty minimal. So we didn't really have a lot of stuff,
Yeah, St. Thomas is the kind of place that, like, I mean, I lived there 14 years, but I'd say for the first 10, I never thought I'd stay there for 14. So I just never really got comfortable when it comes to your house. But you spend so much time out of your house too. It's kind of more like, this is where I sleep and hang out. But you work on the water, you hang out with your friends and do stuff. So yeah. I feel like when I came back to Oregon, now that I'm in a house, just nesting, buying as much furniture and anything I wanted, rugs and just different things. And it's funny how, and I don't know if it's an age thing or just like a St. Thomas versus the States, but yeah, I'm actually living in the States in like a family owned house too. So I feel like I'll be here a while, or at least whatnot,
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, we're going to stay in Colorado. But yeah, I've done the same thing, the nesting thing, the stuff thing,
you guys are thinking Colorado long term.
Yeah.
So you are kind of on that, like, let's just get all my things I've stored. And when you've been touring and traveling, I'm sure your mom is like ready to get rid of your stuff as mine was.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
she
parked my car in the garage.
Yeah. Seriously, it's a big chunk of her garage. But I had stuff in kind of 3 countries. So I had some stuff in St. Thomas and Canada and the US, and now I've got it almost all back together. So I'm working on that.
I just had our mutual friend Jamie ship me this little mini Ampeg bass amp that I used to play in St. Thomas. It's just been sitting. It's probably so corroded that it wasn't worth the shipping at this point. But it's like, it's my bass amp, and it's like, I just got to get it back. So I'm probably gonna have to bust that open and start becoming a YouTube amp specialist as well.
Yes.
But speaking of those guitars over there, I'm just.
Oh yeah, I wanted to see it.
This is just like a Fender P bass that I'm just been sanding it down, and my buddy wants to do black with a black pick guard kind of thing. So I'm just kind of started the sanding on it. But there's this interesting trick that if you want to make your guitar a matte finish guitar, which I did with one that I don't actually have up here, but you literally just take like an SOS pad from or not SOS, sorry, the Scotch-Brite pad with the green part. You just rub your bass just to kind of scuff it up a little bit, and then you spray matte clear coat, just a thin layer of matte clear coat, and all of a sudden you have this like perfectly freshly painted looking matte finish on your bass.
Awesome.
Tip number 1.
There you go. Are you doing YouTube videos with this stuff?
You know, I thought about it at first, like just for fun, but I was like, to literally shoot a good video and do that, like to set up camera shots, get it, and then do it, and then like set up the camera shot. If I had a video team working with me, I would. Yeah, I was like, or my brother, if we were working on it together, we could do it. But yeah, it's like I just kind of get passionate about it, start working, and I'm like, I'm just going to leave it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. You can always, I mean, and I understand from like your point of view as a video guy is that you don't, you want to do it right. And I am not a video guy yet. So I'm just like, done is better than perfect.
Well, I see right now in my little screen there that last minute closed my windows and I got some weird shadows on my face. And, as a video guy, I'm like, that's shit. But I'm going to put up
start over.
Quarantine. Yeah, just start it from the top. One more take.
That's a nice thing about this is just like, I'm just trying to do it, get it done, and get it out there. And my idea really is that I'll do all of these as with the equipment I have, and then eventually get better and better equipment as I go along. And then when this quarantine thing is over, I'll do like a follow-up series of videos. So I'll, hopefully we'll hang out in person and we can
check in with people.
Yeah. And
that's
do this
cool.
Again. Yeah.
How many? So you're just going to continue doing them through quarantine, however many that is?
Yep. Yeah. And it's very easy to get a hold of people because nobody's doing anything. So
like I was having with music and stuff. It's you can just call people and they're like, yep, what's up?
Yeah. Because I was just watching that, that live streaming video with Ghazi, and then you popped on there after he was flicking you shit for a while. And then I was like, oh, there he is. Yeah.
Well, that's funny because he had more than one streaming platform going. So I was on the Facebook one with like 6 people. And I guess you were on the one with like 45 or whatever people. And I was just like, I was sitting there and he's like talking about me. Like, and he's like, someone tag. I'm like, what? Are you not like, you have the confidence to say I'm not listening. I'm on the, one of 6 names, but no. So that was funny though. But yeah, he was hailing me up. He's my boy. I love that guy. So cannot wait to get back out on the road with him. Like, yeah, pretty much. It's funny. I've managed to stay single. I don't know how, but no, I've managed to stay single. But like, going on tour and stuff still seems appealing to me because if I'm not going to be married with kids, I might as well be doing the exact opposite and living like your little fantasy dream life, of just touring and doing whatever you want, not having anybody tell you should pull it together. I guess
that's great. Yeah.
Not that I want to stay single forever, but while I am, I might as well. Do all those things.
Yeah.
And I also decided I need to also buy all the toys that I want when there's no one telling me like, should you really spend your money like that? Like, so I got to get all that in while I can.
Yes, definitely.
I just come with it all. I got like 25 guitars. No big deal, right?
Yeah.
Prepaid.
That's what you're signing up for, babe. Me and all my stuff.
I know you're editing this up.
Yes.
Right? I was going to say... You texted me something about like just like fun tour moments or whatever.
Yeah. So those are the 2 prompts that I was thinking about too. The epic amazing moments, or like crazy tour stories, like really crazy shit. Anything?
Well, my mom might watch this. No, I'm just joking. But no, it's funny. Like when you're touring and everyone's like 40 years old and everyone's like got their lives together. It's like. I don't know. It's like Guns N' Roses in the 80s or something like that. My main tour stuff that I've really enjoyed is just running into people that I grew up, listening to and just using as kind of like learning from them. One of them being like Fat Mike from NoFX, and had a funny little run-in with him where I was able to kind of like share that randomness. I was with Ghazi and his band West Lindy. When he called it West Lindy, he switched to Ghazi now. We'll get into that with his interview, I'm sure. But yeah, I ended up meeting Fat Mike in this random conversation with this other guy while he was finishing up his set, and ended up in Fat Mike's room with a few other people having drinks and hanging out and whatever. ended up being a few rooms down from us. This is on the Flogging Molly cruise, so we're all in hotel rooms or make that context there. But and it just ended up being me and him decided that we were just gonna like cruise out and just cruise around. So we walk out and I show up where Ghazi is and the rest of the crew, and just me and Fat Mike, which obviously we don't know him or whatever. So it's just like one of those moments with like double take kind of thing. And the night ended up going, it's like Ghazi was at the time, you know, like the least known person on the boat, and Fat Mike was a headliner. We decided it would be funny at 4 a.m. to go around knocking on people's doors and, you know, just having like the most famous guy and the new guy on the boat waking everybody up and just kind of like running off. And so that was it was short-lived, but it's short-lived because we ended up knowing the people we knocked on the doors and just going in and hanging out. But it was a fun night and a fun memory just with like, you know, when you're a little kid, just like learning, like hearing these songs, then going up. And I think it's more just when you meet people and then they treat you like an equal and you treat you like a bud. It just kind of like, yeah, you know, thank God they can still listen to your music and not, you know, if you have a bad experience, you're probably like, crack the CD. Even have a CD anymore. But
yeah.
Yeah, crazy times running around the boat with Ghazi and
That's so cool.
Fat Mike.
So cool. Yeah, we did it one time, the boat, and it was really fun.
That was the year before I went, right?
Yeah. Yep. It was Rancid and Slackers, Fishbone, and of course Ghazi was there.
How did you like that? You play standing up, so rocking the boat, you were probably pretty stable. Or was the boat even rocking? Did you notice anything?
I didn't notice anything, but I'd also been working on the catamarans for a while at that point, so I was pretty used to the boat rocking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet show though, right? Just getting everyone all in the same place.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. Such a cool idea.
Cool idea to see it played out. And then I like how it seems like all the artists really, I mean, there's no like green room there. It's like you're either in your room or you're out with everybody. And so I liked how everyone's just schmoozing around, hanging out, but all the fans are old enough too. No one's like an 18-year-old kid freaking out. Everyone's just chill, cool people. And it's a really cool to see that whole scene and culture kind of come to, you know, these punk and drublic tours and punk rock bowling and all this different, you know.
Yeah. Really fun. And I wanted to bring up too, I just think it's funny because for some reason on most of these interviews, we wind up talking about NoFX and Fat Mike. I don't know why,
right?
but yeah,
he's the godfather of punk, right?
Yeah, I guess so. He they I don't know if you saw it, but they did a live video at Red Rocks with The Decline.
I saw that in Portland on the same tour, side stage, which actually I think I would have. I think I preferred out front. It's like you think side stage is cool because no one's bugging you, but the sound is really best out front. But yeah, I did watch that live performance at Red Rocks. That was pretty epic.
Yeah, I just watched it just before this. It's really cool. Really, really cool. Somebody suggested it to me because we were talking about Fat Mike.
I've got a projector screen in the basement with these old speakers of my dad's from the 70s that are just great. But when you put on a concert down there, it's almost better than going the real thing. If it's shot well, just sit there, crank it up, and you're just like, that's where I watched it. It was funny when I said side stage for that NoFX thing. I had just gotten off tour, and that came up, and I didn't have passes or anything to that show. But I was just so used to having access to the show. I just kind of like what MXPX played, and my career was like side stage. And I went to a Christian high school. They were a Christian band, and they played this really small club. And long story short, I just kind of wanted to like reminisce with him for a second or something. So I just like walked back there and started talking to him. But long story short, it was funny because I'm not supposed to be back there. Don't have a pass. All my friends start hitting me up to get back there. It eventually turned out that I was walking to the security guard, like, "Hey, you mind if I just get this guy?" And he's like, "Who are you again?" I'm like, I just kind of like blew it off, like, "Oh, I do photo video in the industry," and I didn't name drop anybody. I just kind of like blew it off, and I'm like, "I'm just here." But yeah, just kind of like confused him with words, and eventually I was literally with him, letting my friends come back, which I just thought was funny. How when you're a kid, you're like, "Oh, I could never get backstage," but it's all about just seeming confident. Just throw a phone up to your ear and just walk. Yep. Someone says something to you, it's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how, when you're younger, I always looked at the side stage and I was like, that's so cool. They must be really cool. They're hanging out with the band, watching from back there. That's awesome. And then come to realize that what you really do is it's the confidence thing. And also at a lot of big shows and festivals, the people that are at the gate, like keeping, trying to direct traffic, they're not getting paid very much,
Right. They're only
you're
so
just
invested.
like, yeah, Mike told me I come in this way. And they're like, Mike who? Like,
Right.
He's really pissed right now. If I don't get to the stage, shit is going down. Mike,
Right.
you better call him right now.
You could probably just walk up and be like, hey, Steve told you to report to post number 2, and the guy would just walk away.
Yeah. Well, I'm not endorsing that kind of behavior. I'm just saying it happens.
Now they're going to beef it up.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's nice to be back there because usually there's free beer and there's a nice view of stuff, but it does not replace the upfront, like I said, with like the good sound and just everything. Yeah. So I watched The Decline, like this awesome song, but I'm like,
that's so cool.
I kind of wish I was up front. So it was fun to see it at Red Rocks and see it up front.
And they had the orchestra in Oregon as well.
Yep. It was just a few shows that they were headlining. It was Punk and Drublic. Yeah. It's Punk and Drublic.
Cool.
Yeah, just a few shows. That was pretty cool. That was.
Yeah.
I've seen them like tease it before and stuff like that, but never play the full thing.
I didn't really think they'd ever do it, but it makes sense with the orchestra because it fills up the rest of the sound and they can.
It is cool.
That's really cool. So do you have any like really terrible moments that pop in your head from touring or traveling or things that make for a good story, but like you weren't laughing at the moment when it happened?
I have one that pops to mind that I guess it kind of could have happened anywhere, but it was first night in Europe. I had flown over there to be with the Caddies and Ghazi and go on that tour. And so I knew everyone. We had done a shorter tour in the States. But this was like a longer tour and whatever. So first night, flew over there. Everyone just kind of excited getting in the first night. We stop at a gas station to get food. Everybody gets the same thing. I decided to get this like pad thai thing at a gas station. The gas stations in Europe have a little bit more than the gas stations here. But so I eat something different. So foreshadowing to that moment, so we all have our bunks. I'm in my bunk. It's later that night. And I just start rumbling like I'm not feeling good. And I'm just laying there, turning it over. I think it's going to pass. Well, I realize, okay, I might not. But here's the other thing. You can't go number 2 on a bus. So you also can't like puke in a toilet on the bus. It's just not, so they're going to have a mat there. There's no real good place to puke. But I don't even know what's going to happen yet. I get up and I start going down. If you've ever been on a bus, it's just a line of bunks, top and bottom. So first night, and I'm still the new guy in the tour bus, and so I basically cover my mouth, but puke to the point where it like sprays out, so like spurts on the curtains. And then no one like gets up right then, but I make it downstairs, and I basically ended up pulling my shirt up and like puking into my shirt. And so I go down, I'm all cleaning up, and Sasha, the guitar player for Caddies, comes down and he's like, "Dude, are you all right?" I'm like, "Man, I only had one beer." And he's like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "Because if you're like partying and puking, that would be like a little much, And so basically, the thing that sucked too is those curtains, they were screwed on. You couldn't just like take them off. So I had to like unscrew it, get them off, take them to a dry cleaner. And first night on tour, I'm like puking on the bus. And it was borderline.
That's a good one. We'll call this segment Bad Tie.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, nothing really bad on tour as far as everything with the Caddies, and with Ghazi and stuff, that all has gone really smooth.
Good.
And that's smooth sailing.
Smooth is good.
Yeah.
It's the early years that have the really crazy stories usually, or
you're living in a van and everyone's
it's before the bus years. That's when shit can get really eventful. You're sleeping on people's floors and that's but everybody wants to get past that.
Right.
And then when you do, you're like, I kind of miss the chaos. At least
right.
Talking to Frank, Frank Turner was talking about that, and he was like really excited because he booked a South America tour, and it was more like DIY kind of
small.
Yeah,
just like they would have like management team doing everything, and they were just
but he didn't get to do it because of this thing.
Oh, really?
COVID, yeah. So he was pretty bummed about that, but it's funny, it's a perspective thing. Like when you're younger and barely have enough money for food, and then you're hoping for the, more money maybe someday and
Right.
hotel rooms. And you get there and then you're like, I miss the, fear.
Miss the fear. Yeah. The grassroots beginning.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I'm very happy with what I got to see and do. And I'm also happy living in a house with food and my wife and my dogs. It's very nice.
Yeah, and like you said, you don't have to stop playing music. It's basically just the touring. And I mean, I've even seen some bands where it's like an original, even the Killers. Like I feel like their guitar player has switched out. Like I'm sure he still records in the album. He just probably doesn't feel like touring anymore. It's like he's still in the band. That's an interesting thing these days. That you can still do videos but like the tour. Yeah, that's not my thing. So a lot of bands can kind of find a hybrid version of how to do things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not completely off the table for us either. I just needed I need time off the road for sure.
Has the new drummer tried standing up?
What's that?
Is the new drummer standing up and playing to keep the aesthetic alive?
No, it's pretty much just on hold. So there is no. They did one tour without me.
I saw him in Hood River. Yeah, with the new drummer. He was sitting down, but yeah.
Yep. Dane. He's got a recording studio and band called The Firing Room, and that's where we did our last album and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens.
What are your thoughts on the music scene? How do you see it kind of coming back?
I think it's going to do something similar to the DIY movement, like even with big acts, because Frank and I kind of talked about it, and he was saying like when it becomes not dangerous to be together in groups, even if it's small groups, if he gets word that it's okay to do it, he's just going to make a call somewhere in London and go play in a house like right away and start doing that. And I think that's probably what's going to happen first. A lot of the big acts have really big acts and really big venues have too much liability at stake to go back into it anytime soon.
Right.
So it's going to be, I've heard, maybe 2 years from now before they can do.
I guess when they have a vaccine, right? Then all of a sudden it's going to be like, okay, the worry isn't there.
As long
could they do a thing where they check people's temperatures? They go in and kind of, they do that on job sites and deem it worthy, right?
Yeah, I just picture like 1,000 people spaced out 6 feet apart, standing still.
I think moshing with helmets. Everyone wears helmets.
Yeah.
Full on like dry suit, like
yeah.
There's ways. There's ways.
Yeah, we can
stadiums with like every 5, 6 seats or whatever filled, and a lot of these places, with the partial opening, it's like the amount it costs to run it wouldn't go down that much. Just a lot of fixed costs, and so it's like doesn't make sense to open it with partial capacity. A lot of places won't. So even when things open back up, there's still that a lot of places have, even like restaurants. It's like they run on a thin margin, so it's like you open up, but you're just not making enough. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a really weird time.
Yeah, one of my friends is in Montreal. He's a business owner, and he just posted something on Facebook saying like, it's not worth it. It doesn't make sense to have it partially opened or 20% capacity or something like that. It's more expensive than to just stay closed. So
right, because you incur all these new costs and so
overhead. Yeah,
it's a crazy time. I'm just like, I was like fully watching the news and stuff from the beginning, and then now at this point, I'm kind of, like I said, just kind of doing my thing, stay in quarantine. But I'd say I'm a little less up to date than I should be.
Yeah, well, there's a certain level I've realized that's it's good to stay up on certain things, but day to day in a complete worldwide lockdown, not that much changes. It's depressing every time you listen to it.
Right. And it's like every day they're doing a live briefing. I'm like, it didn't feel like it was changing enough, and so I trickled out. But
yeah, me too. Like I really, when it first started happening, and even when it was kind of just happening in China, I was listening every day, and I kind of got to the point where it's like, well, I can't do the news every. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to promote?
You know, it's funny living in St. Thomas so long. I'm just not used to like selfless promotion. Like everyone's into Instagram, and I just had like a few, like 5. Even though I'm in photo video, I just had like a few photos I had done with like extra heavy filters. You know, when Instagram first came out and stuff. And I just so at one point when I was on tour with the Caddies, I was like, I tried to switch it to all band stuff, and it's like I think I kind of needed to make it. Now that I'm back in the States, I need to get a little more official. A lot of what I do is all word of mouth. Like you said, it's a very small scene, so it's it doesn't make that much. I just totally lost my train of thought. So it's like it doesn't make that much.
That's all good, man. Yeah, well, I'll help where I can. So I'll grab your Facebook book link and different whatever I can find online that refers to your bands and your projects and the videos that you've done, and I will put those in the links.
Yeah, the
comments below.
At Hollywood VI is what I have for Instagram, and
cool.
Yeah, more cool stuff to come, more videos to come. It's funny, a lot of the videos I've done so far, a lot of it is run and gun and shoot, and a lot of it's funny, as you get with more professional bands, you would think that it would be more like, you'd make a treatment and you just do it, you'd have it all shot schedule and everything, but I worked with Slightly Stupid, and they're on a pretty big level. They had a pretty big budget, and we're shooting a video. We did so many different shoots, so many different days, went to a bunch of different artists' house that worked on this certain song and shot with them and stuff. And then the video has really just been kind of shelved at this point. No other version of the videos come out, but they just kind of like lost momentum and then got busy touring and then just didn't finish it. And it's funny how you'll start projects like that. But I guess what I was going to say is it's funny, you work with bigger bands, and I came up with this treatment that was very awesome on how this video should go. And then you talk to them and they're like, we just kind of wanted like basically just shots of the beach and just like, we want you to like make it look really, they basically want to look like a shot on a VHS shoulder camera, just old school. And I'm like, I'm trying to use it as this like showpiece of like this best video I've made with everything perfect. And they're like, we just kind of want to look like some old crappy video, like, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But we never actually got that one out. But it's funny how even on a big level, people kind of want you to just slap stuff together and make it look, that hodgepodge look is a look. And if you're out there, I'm still looking for bands that want to actually shoot proper music videos, because most people don't want to take the time, or different band members just have a hard time getting in the groove to go do that. So I'd say that's the most like frustrating thing. It's just that when you shoot a ton of footage, and you might know even from sorting through what you've done, is the more footage you have, it's not the better all the time. It's like, oh, that just means more hours of sorting for those like little gem moments. And so if you can actually think something out, shoot it with intention, then the editing is just dropping things into place rather than just searching everywhere and then trying to make a video.
Yeah.
And to some degree, like even John's video for On the Road, that ended up just kind of being a bunch of different, we had a few shoots, but it was just a hodgepodge style video, which I like, but as an editor, I'm kind of like looking to go to the next.
Yeah.
It's
like
I don't have the ability, I just don't have the clientele that wants it.
Right. Well, we'll try to find you more clientele that wants proper videos, not something that looks like a shot on VHS 20 years ago.
But that should just be my specialty, is just old school videos.
Yeah.
Which I kind of go that route. I kind of give them an old school look anyway. So,
well, yeah, it's funny how that is, but it's definitely a fad right now, and has been for a while. Making it look like an old shitty video, but your work looks really good, and I'm really happy that we worked with you for that. And I know that the band kind of ran out of steam right after that. It was just a really strange way that things worked out. I worked really hard to get us on the record label, and then it just I'll edit this part out, but it went to shit.
Yeah. I was happy I got to see you guys in Portland at Dante's, and I guess then with you out of the band, I guess I saw him in the river. But yeah. But anyway, man, I'm really happy that you're staying busy and you're doing different projects, and I really enjoy linking people up to you. So that's what's really cool, is hopefully we can get you work, with other friends of mine that need some video done or want
you to refinish your base or
Yeah, right. And I think just the Instagram like link is good. And I'm just going to kind of look at my Instagram, just kind of cut out anything I'm not proud of and varied up a little bit. But I think that's kind of what the hip kids are using these days, just Instagram.
seems like it. Yeah.
That's what I'm having most people tag me in.
Yeah, it's definitely the most followers that I have on any platform is Instagram. I was off of Facebook for a year.
Really?
Yeah, trying to reestablish myself. I was just like, I went dark, man. I had to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. I pretty much have gone off, like, I don't know, this whole quarantine. I mean, when I lived in the Virgin Islands, there's so many beautiful sunsets, beautiful boat days, different things to shoot. I would post up, and I dated a few girlfriends that loved posting stuff. So I was in a lot of stuff for years. And now I feel like I've kind of just fallen off, but it's just like I just don't feel the need to post that much. So I'd end up just posting stuff for like gigs and stuff, but then it's not that personalized anymore. But I kind of feel like I need to get back on Facebook, because when I look at that timeline as an old man, I want to see my whole life. I'm going to miss a big gap here. But, have you thought about that? Like when they switched to the timeline, it's kind of like a diary for people that don't keep diaries. You just flick back. It's in order. I do like how Facebook would be like, 10 years ago, you were doing this. Or
it reminds you. Sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes you're like, holy shit.
Right. Like, I look good.
Yeah, I look good 10 years ago.
Somehow you like leave St. Thomas and you get all pale, and all the like sun wrinkles just like all of a sudden pop out and your skin looks like crap. And
yeah, I was just looking in the mirror last night. I was like, damn, I got some. What is that? But I was like, I was working on the boats, and I was like, yeah, if I do this forever, I'm gonna have some serious hamburger nose. And like I call them leatherbacks, the people that lived like the Lagunatics and the people that are like just leather,
It's like where their arm was just like pushed in, and just like rippled.
Yeah, super brown and just like pickled. They looked pickled.
You'd see those people, and I was in my 20s, and I'd be like, I probably won't look like that. I mean, you just feel like, not me. I mean, I don't see myself going that direction. Yeah. And then like you get a full spread of wrinkles, you're like, oh, stage one.
Stage one wrinkles.
Oh, getting older is funny.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can keep a smile throughout the whole process.
That's the goal, right? I think you can. If anybody can, it's you.
A funny thing that happened. So I turned 40, right? So like the hurricane happens. I turned 40 like during that time. Then this happens. I feel like there's just been this huge, weird, like, if 40 wasn't already a time where you're kind of like, what's going on in life or whatever, to then have the just different aspects, all aspects of the world. Now even the entire world, like kind of like falling apart in a way, in a weird silver lining way, it makes me feel like it's kind of leveling the playing field. I feel like I've been kind of like beat down in these different ways. And I'm sitting here in Portland, and I'm like, I don't really have that many friends here in Portland anyway, because all my friends are in the islands. I'm like, so this quarantine, like I'm not like missing a bunch of like lunch dates that I had planned, just because locally where I still travel a bunch, and I love this as a hub. My family's here, but I haven't been super social since I've been here because I've been traveling so much. So it'll take a while. But yeah, it's funny how that all plays out,
Yeah, we Victoria and I both felt the same way, because it's like we've had multiple times in our lives together as a couple where the shit just fucking hit the fan hard, and we're just like, what do we do? And now it's like the entire world is in that phase, so we're like, yeah,
you're like, oh,
at least everybody.
Next girl I meet, I was like, yeah, I've got everything together. It's just Corona, Corona really set me back a little bit there. So then I'm dialed.
Yeah, it's like, because we have a lot of friends that are our same age that have a couple of kids and a house and all that, and we start to think like, oh, what do we do wrong here? And then this happens, and we're like, actually, we're fine. We're doing great. Everybody's fucked. So
I saw Seth Rogen talking about like this little period during coronavirus, the choice of not having kids makes up for all those like deathbed regrets. Like just having this time to do whatever you actually want to do rather than full 100% parenting all the time. And he's like, it's all worth it just for this window of time. And I'm like, I kind of laugh on that. Maybe that's true.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's kind of a good point. I mean, people are losing their fucking minds. And I can only imagine having just 2 kids.
Yeah.
And they're that age where they would be in school all the time. And now it's just like full on. I have a couple of friends with like 5 kids, and they have to teach them all.
I was talking to my friend Dave Paradiso, St. Thomas guy who I actually lived with when I went down to LA after the hurricanes. But he was telling me that his family has actually gotten like way tighter and better, and like his kids that were kind of acting out, now that they're getting like full on parenting support, he feels like it's gotten like really good in that way. And I was like, that's a really positive. I've never really hear people talk about that side. I'm like, that's cool. It's like, yeah, so being around all the time is making your parents or your kids behave, and just, I'm like, oh, that was cool to hear.
That is really good to hear. That's uplifting. And I think it also has a lot to do with, because some of these people, I'm like, maybe you're just a bad parent to begin with, and you're losing your mind now because you have to be around the kid that you don't really like.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there are instances where it's like, if you're a good family unit, or you're trying to be anyway, I'm sure that there's times where it can be good.
I have to think nobody really likes those first years. There's like moments of awesomeness and those photos that you get from those years, but the actual day to day, I think most people would probably agree, is the roughest part of parenting. Yeah,
I'm sure.
And then I think my brother's looking forward to, my nephew's 2.5, but yeah, he's looking forward to once you can start teaching them and showing them stuff, and they're really like, even at 2.5, speaking is happening, and it's like they're learning stuff, but to really like be instilled, like you got a whole life to become an awesome version of what you think you should view the lens you view the world through. And it's fun to pass that on and maybe have them skip some trials and tribulations.
That's what we hope for, right? But it's, I don't know.
Or they could just be a total screw off and end up in jail.
I didn't listen, I tried sometimes to listen to, so I could avoid those problems, but I didn't wind up in jail forever, so that's good.
I was a pretty good kid. I mean, my thing was more like disappointed parents rather than angry parents. And it actually works better, I think, when you feel like you've disappointed your parents, because they're just loving, nice people. And even if you're a crazy person, you still like, they just trying to do good. I'm just messing with their lives, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that method works. Anger, then you can just more be like, like you're just angry too. Anger meets anger, and then
Yeah.
I'd be a great parent,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got it all figured out, man. Yeah, my dad switched. He used to, like, when we were younger, it was like and then he got to the point where it was just like, I am so disappointed in you.
Yeah.
And we were just like, oh.
I have a question. So you got spanked, right? Like, is spanking illegal now, or is it just like frowned upon?
I don't know.
Child abuse? Like, I think someone told me that it was actually considered child abuse these days.
It probably is. I personally didn't feel any. I don't have any. I don't feel like it was wrong or evil, but it's not something I don't think I would try very hard to avoid using that with my own children if I had them. However, I don't feel like, like I hate my dad for doing that. But it was very obvious that just the guilt and the shame from being an idiot was way more effective than spanking.
Yeah. I think I got spanked until I started laughing one time when my mom was spanking me because I was too old, I guess, and it stopped then. But I never had to like go pick your switch out of the tree, son, or whatever. I never had to like go pick my abuse stick. So it wasn't like this process of like death row or something. It was just nice and easy. Spank to your room then.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think just them being more sad and upset with you is way more effective. Just being like, we try so hard and you just don't listen.
The spanking might be more therapeutic for the parent, just kind of getting it out. Like,
I want to punch you, but I'm just going to do that instead.
Right. We've agreed this is okay.
It's okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's probably considered abuse now.
In
most places.
One other thing I've been doing on quarantine is I bought one of those electric scooters, like those birds and limes you see around cities or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When I first moved to Portland, I was looking for a bicycle, and I was renting those because we had done that on tour and it was a lot of fun or whatever. And so ended up buying one. So it seemed like a good quarantine thing to do, is just buzzing around because you're not in any place for too long and just cruising past people. But it's been a fun way to like be out and about, but not really be out and about because you're not stopping.
Yeah.
So I recommend it. My stamp of approval.
Awesome. The Hollywood approval.
Hollywood stamp of approval.
It just dawned on me. I should probably ask you what your favorite country or place that you've been to is. Or, I mean, if you don't want to pick a favorite, you could do like top 3.
Well, when you say that, it makes me think of going to Europe. That Europe tour was my first time to Europe. I kind of like missed the high school trips that people took and stuff. And by the time I was like ready to go, no one was bringing up going to Europe. And so that tour was fun. The funny thing is you just saw every place for such a short time or whatever. I really liked Amsterdam, but that's a classic one. But that's also because we had a day off there, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was pretty awesome. But just I always thought of that city as just being like where people go to smoke weed and do drugs legally. And it turns out it's a beautiful city with a lot more going on.
Yeah.
So
a lot, yeah.
Little does anyone know, it's actually a great place to go.
There's a lot more to Amsterdam.
I could definitely see myself going back there. We also hung out in Vienna for a while at the end. But everywhere else was just, it was, you know, you saw the venue, you ran around, you went out for like happy hour or a little food if you wanted to or whatever. And so, yeah, I still need to kind of go back there. And, you know, the tropics are kind of my favorite overall if I just have to choose.
Yeah. Did you go to Italy?
We did Trieste. Am I pronouncing it right?
Let's say yes.
When you know in your different places every day.
Trieste.
We did. Yeah, it was just we went to the barely dabbled.
Barely, yeah.
But that was another beautiful spot. We had some time off walking around there, and that was amazing. Right on the water.
Yeah, Europe is definitely it's expensive to get there, but it was my favorite to go all over the place.
It used to be that the dollar was like $1.50 euro was like $1. I mean, it used to be really off money wise. So I think I wrote it off for a few years because it was like, why would I go somewhere that I spend way more money than I, you know, anywhere else? So yeah. Now I think it's kind of evened out a little bit. When we were there, it was kind of like 1-to-1 ish close.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I was drunk and I don't remember that at all. But no, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was pretty straight across.
Yeah. Cool, man. I could go on and on. I was going to ask you more, but you know, I should probably call my brother back. He's calling. So
yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And
same to you, man.
Good to see your
Thank
face.
you. Absolutely.
I come to Colorado regularly, so I'll definitely hit you guys up.
Please do.
Got a lot of family there, so.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah. So we live in Lafayette, just outside of Boulder. And when we can get established, what we're going to do is hopefully buy a house up by Golden or somewhere a little bit more in the mountains, perhaps. So
nice.
Yeah. So, David, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. And we'll do that follow-up here in the basement when you come visit.
Yep. Until we meet again, my friend.
All right.
Peace.
Peace, buddy.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.